is Chris from Light and Joy Designs, and today I'm going to teach you the basics of what you'll need to learn how to make these really soft, squishy, and warm fingerless mitts that are made in Tunisian crochet. So, today I'm using Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and I think this is gray marble is this color, and I'm using a DENISE interchangeable Tunisian crochet hook in size 10 millimeter. So what I'm going to cover today is how you start the project, how to do the foundation row, how to do the knit stitch, how to do the increases that we'll need for the thumb portion of this pattern, and then how to do the decreases. And then finally I'll show you how to do the single crochet bind off. So let's get started. This pattern calls for 18 stitches, but today I'm going to demonstrate with just 6 stitches because we don't need to make the whole thing. So the way that you start with Tunisian crochet is you make a slip knot and you start with a row of chains. So in this case you would be chaining 18, but I'm just going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This first stitch, this first loop rather, is considered your first stitch. So when we work into the back bump of the chain, so if we take a look at the anatomy of chain stitches, in the front we have these V's, and then on the back of a chain stitch you have what some people refer to as the back bump or the back hump. And we're going to start by working into the back bump of the second chain from the hook. So that would be 1, 2. So we're going to work into that back bump. We're going to pull that first loop secure, not too tight, but just so that it's not floppy. And then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And then we're going to do that with each of the rest of the chains. So we go into the back bump, yarn over and pull up a loop, and on your first, this is your foundation row. Whenever you're doing a foundation row, it's good to do them so that they're not too tight, okay, not too loose, not too tight. You want the Goldilocks amount of tension, just right. So that's 4 loops, 5 and 6. So in Tunisian crochet, for each row we have the forward pass, which we just did, and then you have a reverse pass. So you're always working on the right side. You're never turning your work like you do in regular crochet, unless you're doing a special stitch. Sometimes if you're working with 2 colors, you may turn your work. So for the reverse pass, a normal reverse pass goes like this. It's a yarn over and you pull through 1 loop, and then it's a yarn over and you pull through 2 loops. And then you just continue to do yarn over, pull through 2 loops for the rest of the return pass. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. And there we've completed our first foundation row. Now the anatomy of a Tunisian stitch is such that you have these horizontal chains here. You have what's called the upper bar and the lower bar, and then we also have the back bump again on each of those chains. And then we have the vertical bars. And the vertical bars were your loops. So you have the front part of the front vertical bar, and you have the back vertical bar. For doing Tunisian knit stitch, what we do is we take our hook. We don't go into this first one because we already have that stitch. This loop is already considered our first stitch. So we're immediately on our second stitch. So we go into our second 2 vertical bars. We go from front all the way to the back. We're going to yarn over and pull through a loop. So we'll do that again. We're going to identify our 2 bars. We're going to go in between them through the back, yarn over, and pull up a loop. One more time. Find those 2 vertical bars, go through, yarn over, pull up a loop. And something that's important with knit stitch, just like the foundation row, you want to make sure that these are not too tight or else your fabric will curl. And with Tunisian knit, you usually do have a little bit of curling, but that will work itself out when we sew this project together. This project is worked flat, and then you have your thumb piece over here, and then it's folded in. It's folded over, and the seam is sewed up on one side. So again, with another knit stitch, we go in between those 2 vertical bars, pull up a loop, and now we're at the edge stitch, the last stitch, the edge stitch. The anatomy of that stitch is you have 2 threads that are crossed at the very edge, and then you have one that kind of comes down. What you're going to want to do is put your hook underneath those 2 edge stitches, those 2 edge threads, and then you yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we're going to do our regular reverse pass. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 1, 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the end, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we've just completed our first row of knit stitches, and you can see they're starting to form, and this is what they will look like eventually when you're done. So we'll just do one more row, pull up a loop. Remember, we go into the second stitch first, and the edge stitch, we go under those 2 edge threads, pull up a loop, and now we do our reverse pass. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, 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 and yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you can see those the knit effect starting to take place. And with Tunisian knit, you will often get a little bit of curling, where the fabric will kind of go like this, and that's okay. That can be fixed at the end. But the looser you do your stitches, the less of a problem that will be. Okay, so the next thing we're going to learn how to do is the increase. And what we do is, in this pattern, it calls for a 6-stitch increase. So we add 6 chains on the beginning of the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just like when we started, we're going to go into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to go into that back bump. And we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to do that in each of the back bumps of these chains. Here's the next chain, here's the back bump. And another one. And here's the last one. And now here's a very important piece to take note of. This is the only tricky part in this pattern. When you do this sixth pull up a loop in the chain, the sixth chain, that is essentially your stitch that corresponded with your first stitch when we did 18 stitches. So we're going to knit the rest of these stitches, but we're not going to knit this very first one because this loop is the stitch that corresponds there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the second knit stitch, and we're just going to do that knit stitch, pull up a loop to be at the same height as these guys, and do that across. And with thick yarn, sometimes you kind of have to muscle it a little bit. And then the edge stitch into those two edge threads, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then the reverse pass like before. Yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two. And when you're doing your reverse pass, something I forgot to mention is you also don't want to do your reverse pass too tight either, because it will make your fabric not have very much stretch to it. So again, you kind of want that Goldilocks amount, not too tight, not too loose. And we just yarn over and pull through two loops all the way to the end. And now we have increased by actually 5 stitches by doing that because the first chain stayed in line with our old first stitch. So we increased essentially by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. And now you just continue with doing your knit. Edge stitch, and now our reverse pass, pull through one loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, whoop, went through 3 there, yarn over, pull through 2, okay, and so now we're in the pattern. You're going to do this row a couple more times, but I'm going to show you now how to do the decreases. They're also very easy. So we have our first loop, and the decreases in this pattern happen all at the second and third stitch. So you're just going to go as if you're knitting the first one. You're not going to go all the way to the back. You're going to go through that one, and then you're going to go through the second one and go all the way through the back. So let me show you that again. So we have our front vertical bar and our back vertical bar on each of these 2 knits. On the first one, we're just going to go through the front vertical bar, and on the second one, we're going to go through as if to knit. So you go all the way through. And then we yarn over and pull up a loop. And you can see that those 2 stitches are going to be together. And what's going to happen is you're going to get this sort of left leaning decrease that goes along. And then you just continue across. Make sure you don't go into that stitch again. Go to the next one. And our edge stitch. And normal reverse pass, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, and we have decreased our stitches by 1 by doing the knit 2 together. So we can count them. This is the line of our original first stitch, and this is what we have now. 1, 2, 3, only 4 extra stitches whereas before we had 5. And you're going to end up doing that in successive rows. You'll follow the pattern until you get down to decreasing all the way back to just your original first stitch. So now I'm going to show you how to bind off in single crochet. So what we do is we have our first loop and we go into the second stitch as if to knit, yarn over, pull up a loop, and do a single crochet. So we go through the stitch as if to knit like we were doing before, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. That's your single crochet. And we just do that all the way across. Go as if to knit, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's a single crochet. At this point you can take your tail off. And then also into that last edge stitch too. Okay, and when you are all done, you're gonna, this is going to be, you're going to have an angle here. You have like a rectangle with an angle, as you can see in the pictures on the pattern. And what you'll end up doing is folding that over. You'll end up folding that over, and the thumb portion is going to get folded in like this. So you're going to be sewing all the way up along the thumb, and when you get to the thumb portion, you're going to take this corner and this place and this place, and those 3 are going to get stitched together. So you're going to take your yarn needle and go through there, there, and there, and just go through a couple of times, and then finish the sewing up to the top. And then what I do is I sew all the way back down, back through that thumb point, and then back along the bottom edge of the seam. When you're doing your, when you're sewing these together, if you look at the edge, you've got, this is the wrong side and this is the right side. You've got this nice V edge on each side. You have a V edge. And what I like to do is I like to sew it using the loops that would be on the sort of the outside. I guess they're actually, technically they'd be the inside loops. So I sew those 2 together so that when it's turned in, this edge meets up with this edge, and it looks nice and it looks smooth. You can't really, this is the seam on this one, you can't even see the seam. So that's everything you need to know for making your Emerald Isle Tunisian knit fingerless mitts. I hope this was helpful. Hope you enjoy your mitts. Please share pictures on Ravelry and Instagram, and send me a note. Give me your feedback. Put a comment below, or let me know over at Ravelry what you think of this pattern, or at my blog. I'll have links in the description. Thank you, and see you again soon with more patterns. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And for more patterns, subscribe at lightandjoydesigns.com.